Call to order the meeting for the August 12th EDC Economic Development Corporation of Gun Barrel City, Texas, held at the City Council Chambers of 1716 West Main Street, Gun Barrel City, Texas, and establish a quorum from my left.
Rademacher here.
Alexander here.
Rankin here.
Key here.
Damiano here.
Matthews here.
Bond here.
We have a quorum. We'll move on to please stand while we have a short prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Father God, we come to you and thank you for allowing us to be part of your plan for this city. Lord, we just ask that you move us forward and give us divine wisdom and understanding to move forward in ways that will be nothing but pleasing in your sight for all that are concerned with this city and in this city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Hello, Lisa.
And before we get started, I want to thank our mayor, Brian Curl, for being with us today. Thank you for being here. And everybody else that has come to visit with us and watch what's happening. Thanks for being with us this evening. Item number 3, do we have any citizens' comments, Stephen? We do not. Moving on to item number 4. Consider and take action to approve the July 8th, 2025 EDC meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the July 8th, 2025 EDC board meeting minutes.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Damiano, second by Ms. Rankin. Any discussion? Questions? Hearing none, vote from my left.
Rademacher, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Key, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Matthews, yes.
Bond, yes.
The July 8th, 2025 EDC meeting minutes are hereby adopted and placed in the permanent record of this body. Item number 5, consider and take action to approve the June 2025 EDC financials.
I'll make a motion that we table any discussion or approval for the June 2025 financials.
Bond will second. And I believe Dr. Smith.
Not your roll, Keith.
I'll second.
I would like to have Dr. Smith make if she has something to say, for her to say it to us, please. Then we'll vote.
I was just going to update the board that Teresa Cryer, CPA, our CPA firm, is moving from a desktop version of QuickBooks to online QuickBooks. The numbers you see in front of you are correct. We were having some problems with the budget report that is typically the last pages of your financial packet that you receive. That's why they're blank. I got them. One report's done on cash, one report's done on accrual, so we were getting those lined up. This is a great move for us because we now have access to run our own reports as needed. I have access into that system. Stephen and his team will have access to do that as well. But the numbers that are on the slide are actually correct for June. You can see there the bank balances. You can see the total income and net income for the month from August the 1st to May the 31st, or to the end of June. And then a special note, just that our CPA is making that move. My recommendation was going to be that you table it until the next month, but I didn't want to miss a whole month of financials. We've done a great job of keeping you guys updated on where we are financially, so I wanted to make sure that we could do a basic report and then ask you to table it, and I will present both the June and the July at your August meeting.
Okay.
Have a motion and a second on the table. Any more questions or discussion? Vote from my left on the motion to table.
Rademacher, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Key, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Matthews, yes.
Bond, yes.
Motion carries, and the June 2025 EDC financials have been tabled and will be discussed in our next month's meeting. Item number 6, update from the executive director. Dr. Smith?
So very quickly, a few things we've been working on for the last month. Incentive applications, the Main Street Bar and Grill. We will discuss that tonight. We had 3 additional applications from one owner for 3 different businesses. We followed up with him. There was some significant paperwork missing. We followed up with them. He never reached back out to us or provided us any of that information. So we still are holding those incomplete applications. If we do receive information from him, then we will present that to the subcommittee. Southwest Recovery for Slap and Good. This will come back to the board for action in September, October. We want to give them as much time as we can, and there's no reason for us to take action regarding writing off the loan or anything prior to that. On roughly, Stephen has access and can print me a report at any time. We printed one and looked at it today. At about the end of June, they had some kind of commitment from the business to start making payments. Since July 1st, they have called 4 times, emailed 2 times. Both emails got kicked back, although that is the email address that was provided. And they have sent 2 letters. They have had no response from the business since June the 30th, when they said they would respond by the end of the day with a payment agreement. They sent over a payment agreement, but it was blank. There was nothing on it. So they then started July 1st trying to recontact them and have had no contact with them at all. No answered phone calls, emails, or letters since July the 1st. So they are tracking that. I would say they probably call, email, or send a letter every other day. So they are diligently attempting to collect this debt for us. We'll kind of keep, again, on June 30th, it was, hey, yes, we want to do a payment agreement. This is what we can commit to. We'll take care of it. Then no contact again. And that was true to form for our contacts with them as well. So we will allow them to continue to do that. Hopefully they eventually get that signed payment agreement back, and we can head down a good path. We have the final draft and are getting signatures on the Gray Ghost performance agreement. The process has to change just a little bit on how we do this, because we consider small business incentives once a quarter, and then once the subcommittee considers it, we kind of need a general consensus from this board that we are interested in moving forward. We then have to publish in the paper, and we cannot fund that, and they cannot start the project for 60 days. That's state law. So what we're trying to do this time is tonight we will discuss it, get a general consensus and a vote from the board if that's something that we're interested in moving forward with. Stephen will then publish it in the newspaper. We will have the attorney start working on the performance agreement, get all of that ready, and then have the board approve the performance agreement in September, have council have their first hearing on it. They are required to have 2 hearings, have their first hearing, and then go from there. So it's just how the timing maps out. We did a little different process with Gray Ghost, and now they've been stuck just waiting for their 60 days to hash out, right? So that's kind of where we are on that. Tonight we'll discuss the 2026 budget. There is some delay in putting together your budget because we have to be pretty far down the road on the city's budget so that we understand what sales tax is coming in. So we created that budget. We had a budget workshop with council last Thursday. Pretty sure we're clear on that one, and so tonight we will have a discussion on the budget for the EDC. Over the last month, we did the EDC interviews, and if you watched the meeting, council provided myself and the mayor direction to move forward with negotiations with the candidate. Y'all's conversation was an executive session. The city council's conversation was an executive session. When I can update you on that, I will. I will do that as soon as I know how this is all going to hash out, but we have started the negotiations with a candidate. And again, I remind you, this is confidential information at this time, and when I have more information, I will be happy to update the board. And then something else Stephen and I are kind of looking at is cost-saving analysis just on day-to-day expenses, things like stamps, where the EDC's been paying 78 cents a stamp, the city pays 74 cents a stamp. Stephen mails a lot of things. Let's use our postal machine. So we've been working on some of those things to really, it's not much, but it's every little bit that makes it easier and less having to leave the office to buy stamps when we have a postage machine. So we're kind of looking at that, office supplies, things like that. So those are things we've kind of started working on, hopefully in gear of having a new executive director at some point. That's my update.
Let me make one thing clear. On Slapping Good Barbecue, did we turn that over for 6 months? Or was that just kind of an open-ended project?
It was an open-ended project to be reconsidered September, October, because we want to have it back by the end of the year so that if we need to take any action, we can do that. Part of what Southwest Recovery does is put it on their credit, but there are some things that we can do through our CPA to bill them for undue debt on their taxes, right? So, but we don't have to do that until closer to the end of the year, so.
Okay, let me ask a question on that then. My understanding, I don't recall us putting it out there. I thought it was open-ended, okay? My understanding is that the collections firm has tried to contact them a number of times, 30 plus, and there's been no response.
That's not correct. They did.
That's not correct?
They did have a response on or about June the 30th from Slap and Good.
About when?
On or about June the 30th from Slap and Good.
And that response was?
I just said that response was, I said that in part of my spill. Their response was to try to come to an agreement for a payment agreement and that they would sign it and fax it over, and they did not do that. Or they faxed it, but it was blank. And then on July 1st, they started trying to call them again to get that payment agreement that they agreed to verbally,
okay.
so
It's very disappointing, very, very disappointing.
it is.
And it's really no different than, we would contact them, they said they'd be right in with a check. 3 months later, we still haven't heard from them.
It is. And the benefit of having this agreement with Southwest Recovery, and it really is an open-ended agreement, but the benefit of having that agreement with them is that they have the manpower to do that, right? And it doesn't cost us anything until they collect. And so they have the manpower to sit there and make those phone calls, send those emails, and send those letters. So
Angie, I understand all that, but quite frankly, that's the reason I requested that it be put on this agenda, was because we're not getting anywhere with it. We've been dancing with it for months, not even just the time it's been in collections. They've promised, they're not doing it. Let's finish it.
Well, but we agreed that we would wait towards the October, the end of the year, because we're going to have our attorney or basically send them a 1099 for the debt due. If we do that now,
it's done. We won't ever collect anything on it.
Oh, we're never going to anyways.
but we can, but
The logic that
we
you're
put it on
using,
them, we
Keith.
put it on them at the end of their tax year.
Keith, the
Yeah.
logic that you're using is that if we hold off until the beginning of the fiscal year, that gets us nothing.
Well,
Okay, we're not going to collect.
Waiting-
They've ignored us for
waiting
the
gets
most
us,
part.
if doing it now is no different than waiting. We're not going to
Hey,
get
guys,
anything.
this isn't on the agenda tonight. There is no
It's part of your
harm.
report, that's all.
There is no harm. This is just the director's update. It's me giving you information, not us really discussing it. There is no harm in us holding off and waiting closer to the end of the year. Our fiscal year has nothing to do with it. If they can get $1,000, it's better than what we have today, which is nothing. So,
And I
based on
understand what you're saying, Gary, but from the standpoint of what's it gonna do to be work to the detriment of somebody who's taking advantage of the city of Gun Barrel?
I agree.
correct.
If we do it now versus October, there's no difference in what's gonna happen. It's just that we have a window in time in which we can back in and try to get something done. They just gotta have it done by the time it comes time to file their
Actually,
taxes.
what you just said is somebody who's taking advantage of Gun Barrel City. That's the part that aggravates me.
Pardon me?
What you said, somebody who is taking advantage of Gun Barrel City, that's the part that aggravates me.
That aggravates me greatly.
Now, and Gary, if us taking action tonight,
We
Stop.
can't take action
well, I
tonight.
mean,
Not
but if we
going to
take
yet.
action before then,
We
we're
actually
not going
shouldn't
to change
even be
anything. They're still
discussing
going
it.
to be open. They're going to still be there.
It's not on the
All we're
agenda.
doing is, we're finalizing, we're going to call the debt, we're going to wipe the slate, and then they're going to get a 1099 for the total plus interest due, if I'm not mistaken.
And today, it's costing us nothing for Southwest Recovery to attempt to collect this debt, so.
And I don't know.
I would
if
ask
we-
the
if we-
board
if we
to
ended it-
please stop the discussion about an item that's not on the agenda.
Yeah, okay.
Well done. Okay, this is gonna be fun.
Any further discussion? Let's move on to item number 7. Consider and take action on action plan for events and festivals subcommittee.
Is that Simon? Okay.
Do you have something to present on that, Gary?
I wasn't told I had to, but I'm ready to. I'm going to ad-lib it. Some time ago, the events team was created. Some time ago, the events team, in a workshop, presented what it wanted to do, and about halfway through that presentation, we were told that the EDC should not be doing events. That came as a surprise to us completely. One of the things we were asking for at that meeting was we wanted administrative support from the EDC, hopefully from the city, because our plan was not to do all of the events ourselves, if any. We hadn't decided. We had a list of about 30 events that we wanted to do or we considered viable. And Lisa, please jump in anytime. A minute. That we considered viable, and they're good. They're going to generate. Sales tax. They're going to put heads in beds. They're going to do a bunch of things if we do this. A lot of these have to do with using the park. A lot of them have to do with the using just the city itself. We were going to prioritize those. Our intent was not to do all of the events ourselves. Our intent was to go out and look for people who were interested in bicycling, maybe doing a bicycle race around the lake, or motorcycles, or running the lake. It's a pretty well thought out plan, quite frankly, as to what we were talking about doing. But we can't do it because our board, our team, has 2 people on it, myself, okay, and Lisa over here. Lisa works full time. We don't have the bandwidth to do it all ourselves. On top of that, we would like some monies. That was one of the other issues we asked for, whether it's some monies to subscribe to, if it's a bicycle race that we're trying to put together and we're going out looking for somebody who is very interested in bicycling and wants to put a Run the Lake bicycle race out, and they would front end it and they would do all the legwork or most of the legwork responsible for it. We need to be able to find out who these groups are that are related to these entities, start getting in touch with these people, and maybe paying a fee to be a part of their site or whatever, okay? We need some money, okay? We also need administrative support because we can't do it. We need to round up sites. We need to pay for sites. We need collateral materials. We need a bunch of things. We also need, for the events, if the EDC decides to do it. This is not a Lisa and I decision. If we decide to do it, then what happens is that it comes to the board. We have an event. The EDC either sponsors it or not, or it gets referred to the city council for hot money, hotel monies, because it puts heads in beds or because it's big enough. But we need some seed money, okay? We need administrative support to putting together these lists, to putting together potential sponsors, sponsorship lists, potential advertising site lists. We need some administrative support, okay? We've asked this a couple of times and haven't gotten any answer. When I decided to have this put on the agenda for this meeting, I wish I'd known that I'd be making a presentation. I didn't, okay? The other thing is that we need to figure out exactly where the hell we are. Because we were told at that meeting by the executive director of the EDCs that the EDC should not be doing events. That has never been clarified. A clarification has never been offered. A clarification has never been asked for. And this is what we hope to accomplish today. So we're trying to figure out, can we get some money to put towards events to know that we have at least something to spend? Can we get some administrative support? The other thing I will say is that when we sponsored the pink fishing tournament, I specifically asked for EDC marketing support for the pink fishing event, as well as city support for the fishing event. I was told that they didn't have the bandwidth. And almost in the same voice, I was told that the city should be doing, not at the same time, I was told that the city should be doing events, not the EDC. But the city isn't doing them because they don't have the bandwidth. So That's where we are, folks.
You're describing a catch-22.
I'm describing the situation. I don't care what you call it.
What, does it make sense that if we tag on?
I'm just trying to resolve it. That's all I'm trying to do. So that Lisa and I can move on and know what the hell we're working with, to be honest with you.
What I was going to say, does it make sense that we start pouring our energies into being a presence at the events that are already planned and going on? And
That
maybe-
would probably
maybe
have
getting
it. So
maybe getting a way to have a liaison between your committee and the city.
not a bad start, but I'd rather put out something to, I'd rather identify groups that like doing 5Ks, 20, whatever they are, okay? Motorcycle people that like, or bicycle people that like to ride long-term on bikes, to find somebody who can front end some of this stuff for us. So that's not all our job, to be honest with you. I mean, we can help, and we should help, and we will help. But we need to gather groups, okay? And what you're saying makes sense, okay? It's a little faster to do it, to find sites that, one of the things I wanted to do was an antique and classic, we wanted to do was an antique and classic boat show, okay, in the water, okay? We can do that, and there are certain groups that, Lyman, Chris Craft, Century, and a bunch of others that do this. And I have the contacts, and I can do that, okay? But you need them because then their membership is going to provide the boats to make this successful. The same thing for a ride the lake, be it motorcycle or bicycle. Their memberships, groups that ride bikes and ride motorcycles and do tours and things like that, they're the ones that are going to make these events a success. If we go into it half-baked, it's not going to work. And we can't go into it half-baked, and we're not going to.
I understand what you're saying.
Thank you.
Dr. Smith, go ahead.
I would like to make a comment that what the executive director said is that the EDC is in the business of bringing business to Gun Barrel, not serving as a visitors bureau. Linda
we're in the
has-
business of
let me
driving
please-
sales tax as well.
Let me finish, please, Gary. I didn't interrupt you. Let me finish.
I will.
And then I'm happy to answer any questions. Linda Rankin has long wanted us to have a visitors bureau. The EDC is not in the business of being the visitors bureau and attempting to bring people here to shop. The EDC should be in the business of bringing new business to this community. That is your EDC director's opinion. Y'all can debate it. You can talk about it. I'm not going to argue. I'll tell you right now, I'm done with that. So the EDC's business, as a rule, is to bring in new business that provides sales tax paying dollars to the city and therefore as a product of the EDC. The city does a lot of events. I have someone that is her job, marketing, communication, but we don't on the city side, and I can put on my city manager hat and tell you, we don't subscribe to a bunch of websites. When bass fishing comes here, the city doesn't advertise their event. That's their responsibility to do. And then we have hotel motel dollars if they can prove there is an economic benefit to our community. We have hotel motel dollars that we can invest in that when they can show us how many heads they put in beds. If I put back on my economic development director hat, I will tell you, even with a director outside of me, your office manager doesn't have time to provide an extensive amount of administrative services to putting on events. Again, I have a full-time person that does 10 or 12 events a year and all the marketing and all the ins and outs that go along with that. And that's her full-time job. And not anybody can just put on events. It doesn't work that way. And so, yes, your director said the job of the EDC, I believe, is to bring business to this community. Be recruiting. Be out absolutely going to find a promoter that is. Could you argue that you could find a promoter like a antique fishing boat or a jet ski show that's going to bring new business here? Absolutely.
I am arguing that.
That could match. But that doesn't mean joining their bike website or joining their boat website or doing whatever, and that shouldn't cost us any money to be out attempting to recruit that. Now, that takes time, and that takes commitment from this board to want to do that. No different than business retention and recruitment. Do you want to invest the time as volunteers to do that? And that's something this board has to decide. But I want to be very clear about what the executive director said. That's what I said. This is for you to discuss. If that's something this board wants, then I'm happy to take those ideas to your city council as we approve the budget and say, here's what we need. But I'm going to tell you, even in the city budget, we do not set aside $30,000 just in case we get a grant, for example, right? We take those things as they come up, and the city has hotel motel funds. If Pink Fishing had come to us and they had said, hey, we can put this many heads in beds and we could do this, that didn't happen because it was a little later in their process. But if you don't, I can send you the link to the Texas Bass Nation, both adult and youth. You can see the presentations you do. You can see the heads in beds. You can see the number of people they bring to this community. That is qualifying for hotel motel dollars. But I can't just take hotel motel dollars and set them aside in case. And they can't sponsor a local community. They have to, and that's something your promoters are used to doing, right? I've done events for 25 years of my career. From 3,000 people to 50,000 people. And we have worked with promoters, we've done those in-house, but that's kind of where that goes. And I don't know that this board has the capacity, and I know your staff does not after 24 months with them, to be able to host events when I know what goes into it just for one event on the city side of that. So this is a board discussion. I want to clarify what the director said because I don't like to be quoted and it not be right. So yes, the director 100% said this board's goal should be to bring businesses to this community, not serve as a visitors bureau.
I've got a question. Like the last time this came up, I brought up the situation like going to events and festivals that are already set. We went to July Fest.
Mm-hmm.
Sue and I think Jerry was there earlier.
I was.
And y'all were there. Sue and I talked to 3 or 4 people that were like, oh, wow, interesting. One of them was the gentleman who owns the repair shop, the car repair shop down here.
Okay.
He didn't realize that we could actually help him possibly find a new location. So he was very interested. So those types of things work. Cedar Creek Brewery puts on a fest. We could have if Dr. Smith,
That costs.
if I'm wrong, but events like that, can we sponsor festivals or events going on? Like, I know that, let's say the poker run for the Parrot Heads, have our name on the T-shirt.
You can.
Are those
It
types of
also is beneficial for board members to be there when those people show up for that event to answer.
But this is what's getting lost in the conversation. I'm not against doing that. I think we should go to the poker run and have a booth. I think we should go to the brewery and have a booth because one of the best kept secrets about in Gunville City is the EDC because we're not visible enough. Okay, that's my view. Period. Okay. So Keith, I agree with you. Okay, but I guess Angie, question: does the EDC have an events team or not?
I don't know that I know what you mean by does the EDC have an
I don't know
events
what you
team?
mean either when you said that we shouldn't be doing events when we had an events team. So that's part of what we're
So-
trying to get clarified tonight.
So we did outline in the goals when Super Dave was here what that team would do, go out and try to recruit event promoters to come in here, but that requires us to not join their website, just to go out. Like this weekend, I was in Dallas and a trailer went by it's called Dallas Wheels. They're a nonprofit that comes out, they do bicycle programs, but reaching out to those kind of people was the intent. The intent was try to find a large event. I don't have that list in front of me. It was for that committee to put together a list of local places where you could reserve rooms and events so that if they came in, they had somewhere to use. It was to potentially find a promoter of one large event. That should not require you money to do.
What we did
and-
is we sat down and we made a list of potential events, which was necessary before we can go out and find people to do them, or people that were interested in them.
Again,
And that, if
Gary,
that's
this
the
isn't
point
an
that we were
argument
told we
between
shouldn't be
me and
doing
you.
events.
This is an argument between the board. If you have a question for me, I'm happy to answer it. Otherwise, this is a board discussion, not an Angie discussion, so.
Okay, so what's the discussion? Do we have an events team or don't we?
Gary, just so I can add something from my perspective, I've read the Texas state statute several times in regards to how it applies to the EDC and athletics. And it doesn't say that the EDC should be sponsoring events. It says that if the city is sponsoring like a big athletic event or something, we can put funds into it, like for the housing, or for the, the location, for what is needed during that, for like the equipment. But we don't put money into the tourism aspect of it. And that's where we got off track from the very beginning.
No, I agree with you, okay? And this is what confused us, is because we thought we had an events team. We thought we were trying to figure out what piece we should be working on and what piece we shouldn't be, and it never got clarified.
And
Okay.
from what I've read and been studying, I would like to see the EDC perhaps take some of their funding and put that into the projects that would go towards, I'm going to just use an example, the park. Perhaps we put in that extra, what is it, the one that needs an additional place in the park?
Oh, the horseshoe
Horseshoes,
fence.
okay. So we could have the competitions. Or
agree.
perhaps we put in lighting somewhere that's needed for another kind of competition. Or perhaps we help put in that basketball court that's going to allow us to bring in something big. But those are the kinds of equipment that EDC would be doing.
I don't disagree with that, because actually one of the problems that we hit when we were doing this is that a lot of the events were centered around the park. And then you start running into the infrastructure of the park, as it is today, not like it's going to be with a new community center. So I agree with you. There are things that need to be done, but
And
the
I
question-
think this is where teamwork comes in with the city. The EDC looks at what the city has going on, and let's see where we can complement what they're doing. Us going out and looking for an event is really not going to help us. The city has, at some point, going to have to look at tourism. They're going to have to look at having someone that can go out and do that. Because that truly does come under a Convention and Visitors Bureau heading.
I agree, because one of the reasons for the EDC is to increase sales tax, okay? And whether anybody, I think everybody understands that. And one of the quickest, fastest ways, particularly in our current environment, is to drive people through the city that spend money.
Well, then in that regards, we start working on the infrastructure, the equipment, whatever it takes to draw those associations here.
Allow me to step in just a minute. We're not going to get to an answer, bantering it back and forth, but I do suggest that we take action to set up a working meeting, set up a special meeting where we can sit down together en masse and discuss what we think we need to do, what we can do, what it makes sense to do, and what we can't do.
Can I ask you to do something then? I think it's a good idea, okay? Could I ask you to hold that until the end of the meeting, come back and revisit this topic and make that same suggestion to see if there's anything else that we need to talk about in the workshop?
Okay?
Okay,
I have no problem with that.
way to go.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
We will have to do it here, since this is the place that you have consider and take action for events and festival subcommittee.
Okay, what is your suggestion? Okay, I'm kind of at a loss then. On this particular topic then, what's the take action?
I make a motion that we set forth a time to have a special working group to discuss this subject, to discuss the special events, discuss where we are and where we need to head with it, specifically in a formal standpoint. I make a motion that we put a time together to have that meeting. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, no questions.
Okay, now let's look at a date. How's the week of August 25th look for everybody?
What's the date today?
Today is,
Board, I might ask that you postpone scheduling a specific date until we see if you're going to have a new executive director and when their start date might be, so that they could participate in that meeting in helping set that direction. So that might be after September 1st, so Stephen can negotiate that, but that would be my recommendation.
we have a motion.
You're expecting an executive director to be on board by September 1st or sometime around mid-September?
Again, I would ask that the board postpone that until you have a new executive director on board. If that situation hashes out, if it does not, we can look at scheduling it, but that would be my recommendation, which would be probably mid-September.
Roy?
I make a
You were
motion
to-
to bring down that last motion and a motion to table it to for a
Just
later date.
withdraw your motion. It's easier.
Pardon me?
Withdraw your motion, make a new
I
one.
withdraw my motion.
Okay.
And I make a motion that we table this issue and come back and visit it again when we have a new director,
Next month.
next month, at another time.
Set a date next
Yeah.
month.
All right,
Okay, if that's okay. Keith?
go ahead.
I don't know that we're going to, I don't want to, I'm trying to think of not putting a definite date on it right now because we're in this limbo area, but I would like to see a motion made that we table it for now and gives all of us a chance to think about it more and then bring it back once we do have a new executive director.
Keith, the only reason I suggested that we take another look at it next month in the event that, one, we're not ready, one, some of the staffing issues haven't been
Board,
resolved.
here would be my
It keeps
advice.
it from
You do not
dropping off
have
the
to
table.
take you don't have to take action. You can give direction to me it doesn't require board action to do this. This is just a discussion, but you can take action if you wanted to. You don't have to make an action to table it. You can provide your executive director direction to set up a special work session to discuss events and festivals and the subcommittee assigned to it after the new director is on board. It can be that simple.
I think that would be the best.
Yeah.
I so make that suggestion and make that request. Everybody in agreement?
Take a vote.
Let's take a vote. I need to have a second on that, please.
You need a second. I'll second it.
Okay, no more discussion. From my left,
Rademacher, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Key, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Matthews, yes.
Bond, yes.
Motion carries. And we're placing it in your court, Dr. Smith, to make this happen for us. Move on to the next item. Consider and take action on a small business incentive award to Main Street Bar and Grill for a new digital sign. Turn this over to Dr. Smith to make a presentation.
I can do it unless Lisa or Linda would like to do it.
No, well, it's up to you.
I'm good either way. I'm happy that they're the subcommittee that made this decision and are in it. So the small business incentive team met 2 times in the last month to discuss reimbursement grants, kickoff meeting to go through all the paperwork, review the financials, have a discussion among the subcommittee, and then a second time with the applicant. The applicant was D&D Main Street Bar and Grill. Sharon Tucker, Danny Perkins. I believe Mr. Perkins is here with us tonight. And what they initially asked for was reimbursement of cost on an LED display sign on the front of the business to replace their current signage. Currently, there is a black sign. I believe it has red lettering. This would be kind of what you see in the picture, a similar. This is just a thing. This company is Daktronics out of Rowlett. They are world known. They ship boards all across the country and overseas. It's an amazing product with a great warranty and a great team that backs it up. The total cost of the project is $22,926. That is the invoice from DCI Inc. The subcommittee, after all the review, interviewing the client, interviewing the applicant, was to contribute $8,000 toward the project. We have confirmed with the applicant that he would accept said match, if you will. He has agreed to spend the $22,926 and the EDC contribute the $8,000 toward that. He did provide property owner permission, and he did provide all required documentation for this. As I said in the email today, if anybody is interested, we are keeping these financials confidential, but they are available at the office if someone would like to review them along with the application. Next step, and I know Mr. Perkin is prepared to have a brief conversation. The next step is the attorney would draft the performance agreement. Stephen will have it published in our newspaper. We're required to do that to get public input if there is any. The performance agreement would be considered by the EDC and the City Council in September, and then the final performance agreement would be approved by Council in October, and then Mr. Perkins would be able to move forward right away with his purchase. DCI typically can provide these relatively quickly. Mr. Perkins, would you like to say anything? Or do you have any questions for Mr. Perkins? He's here.
I wasn't there because of some other issues, but I'm going to turn it over to Linda. Linda, would you like to explain why we came to on the $8,000?
Absolutely. What we did was look at what would be the sales tax, annual sales tax from the Main Street Bar and Grill. And it was not a very sizable number. So we kept that in mind because to get a return on our dollars, it would take a while to get $22,000, or 23 actually. So what we did was we want them to grow their business, we want it to improve, and we want to be a part of that effort. And after a lot of conversations with the current owner and everything, we decided that if we provided them with the $8,000, we would have a return in 5 years. Now, that's an extremely long time for us, but at the same token, it's $8,000, and we felt it was going towards a good facade improvement that could increase their business. So we were all in agreement that this seemed reasonable.
And that makes good sense.
Okay.
A 5-year ROI is really out there, but do we have, are you with the Main Street Bar and Grill? Would you like to take the stand and you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. The Main Street, I bought Main Street in November 12th of 2015. I've seen it go from hoping to make $100 a day to we're doing over $1,000 a day at present. We've expanded some. The ability to pull more people in has definitely gone up over the past year. I think our current numbers this year is going to be a little under $500,000 in revenues. I can see the way it's going that we probably, I don't want to say there's a top end, but I think 650,000, 700 is real. We're trying to do some events and planning, just like you are talking about for the city, for the bar. to pull more people in. We're big enough now that we can have an entertainer come in ever so often and have some live music, which generates a pretty good turnout. At the same time, we still, when I started this bar and took it over from a friend of mine that started in 2009, we always wanted to be a hometown bar that it's the neighbors, the residents come to, and you come in there and enjoy some games on TV, some music, maybe shooting some pool, and feel comfortable that there's not going to be a fight. There's not going to be somebody creating trouble to make you feel uneasy. So I've been successful with that for 10 years. I don't know how many more years I got. When you get in your 70s, we're on borrowed time. So I hope to give it another 10 maybe, and definitely want to see y'all's money paid back. I think the sign will get attention. I was talking to some lady the other day that's been at the lake 20 years, and she said, I've never seen it. We don't have anything that makes it jump.
At night, you don't see it.
And so this would bring attention for the people that want to come. It's a bar. Not everybody wants to go to a bar, but we have a lot of Gun Barrel City folks that has no family. We had a funeral the other day, and somebody said, well, are you going to shut the bar down for the funeral? And I said, well, I will for the time of the funeral if all the employees wants to go to the funeral. And we had 2 or 3 that said they just couldn't handle it. There's a little 2-year-old girl that is one of my employees' grandkids. And so it was heartbreaking, and I've got employees that said, no, I'd rather be at the bar for the people that love the little girl and our employee, but they just couldn't take the emotional side of it. So we opened and had actually a group of probably 15 people that was celebrating this baby's life at the bar and remembering what she went through. So it is a family bar. It's close-knit. The bar's solid. This will be the first penny that we've somewhat, if you want to call it, borrowed to do something. Everything else we've always paid cash, and we've done it, and we're prepared to pay the 23 or 24, whatever it ends up being. But it would be nice to have the city on board with us in helping us some. So because if I do it all on my own this year, the employees might not get much of a Christmas bonus, and that's something that we do. So I appreciate y'all's time. Any questions for me?
I do have one. This picture up here, is that the actual type of sign that's going to be up there? Will it be on your facade, or will it be out on the street, or what?
Well, I don't have good eyesight, so I'm not sure I'm seeing what.
Right, if you go by there now, this is actually on the top of above the door as you go in.
Yeah.
And that's where it's going to be?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be above the entrance door, on the same side that Milano's Pizza sign's on. And their sign's pretty big and colorful, and it draws attention, but ours just doesn't do much for what we got.
So it's about 3.5 feet tall?
I think it's supposed to be a little bigger than the existing sign. The existing sign is 4 by 10. So I think it's going to be just a tad bigger than that, but I haven't seen the final.
I believe what we've got here is 3 feet 5 and 5/16 inches tall, and 10 feet and 15/16 inches long.
Yeah, and that's about what the existing sign is.
That's correct.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's a good investment.
Yeah, I've got a question to the committee. We're looking at the return on investment. Did we look at what it would be if we did a matching of 50-50? What our return on investment would be?
We did, and you're looking at, I believe it was 1,000 something a year that they give us.
Okay, but I mean, how many, you said it's going to take, what, 5 years?
to
at
get,
this, on a 50/50, would it be 7 years, 8 years?
I don't have those numbers in front of me. I ran them, but I don't have them in front of me.
Okay, because I was just curious. I mean, I don't have a problem with the 8,000, but I'm just also looking at, 11,000, 3,000 more.
What I'm trying to, from my perspective on our committee, we have been trying to make sure we don't overcommit because, and we sure don't need to have a 10-year expansion
Right.
on that. So we're really trying to stay within 5 years.
Okay.
Are you saying that maybe we could look at something like we can make our performance agreement where he pays just a little bit extra?
I was just throwing out, in the past historically, we've done more of a matching type grant. And so, and I'm not disagreeing, I'm just learning. The whole system is new.
Well, I believe we've got the ability to say that we can limit the time.
Yeah.
If we've got a
but-
5-year ROI, we can say it's going to be 5 years either way. How does that sound to you?
It sounds good.
Well, and it's my understanding that the grant committee, that they've run all these numbers and everybody's on board with this agreement that, I mean, we're just here to basically approve that, it's a go-ahead because they've already run all the numbers and been over all these, instructions and directions and conversations.
Okay, well, like I said, we've got 3 people doing it, but I'm just asking the question, what if?
That's
We went more.
We
That's
we
about it.
looked at
And if
those.
it's not feasible, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We did. I started off looking at what would be half of it, 11,000. And then when I did the numbers based upon their sales tax revenue, it was just too much.
Okay, but do we look at what he's willing to, what he can afford to pay per month? Is that I don't know if that's in the application.
That's not a part of the
Yeah, it's a
grant.
grant.
Well, I think,
Is a reimbursement grant, not a loan.
Yeah, it's a
So,
grant.
It is a grant where your applicant, if you remember from Gray Ghost, spends a certain amount of money and reimburse a portion of some kind.
Right.
So after crunching the numbers, and these ladies met for several hours, 2
Okay.
different times to do this, the applicant has agreed with that. So just to be clear, this is a reimbursement. So he spends
okay,
this money up
just-
front, the 22,926. He provides, I have the invoice. This is a top-notch company. They're the best in the world.
Okay,
I know from my experience, I've bought 2 signs from them. He didn't get those names from me. It just showed up on my desk as such. They are a top-notch company that provides signs around the world. They did the Olympics one year. But he would pay the 22,926 up front. We would then reimburse, per their request, $8,000 to him once he gives us the canceled check and the invoice. So I just want to clarify, this isn't a loan or it's a reimbursement.
allow me
It's
to
a
say this.
grant. It's a
I'm going to
grant.
put it on the table right now. We've had people look at it. We've had our committee look at it. Let's just go ahead and put it on the table to vote for the $8,000.
I'll make a motion.
That's part of my question. What are we voting for? We're not voting, we don't
I'm
have
going to
a
make a
perform-
motion that we have a incentive award to Main Street Bar and Grill for a new digital sign in the amount of $8,000. It's a matching grant.
Subject to what?
And there is no subject.
Yeah, well,
He's purchasing a digital sign.
is there a performance agreement?
There will
It
be.
will be. That's what I mean, subject to.
We're just approving tonight that we are in agreement this is worth.
Okay.
Move forward, yes.
I second.
And it would be the maximum of $8,000 is what we'd be giving you. Do you fully understand that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Ms. Rankin, second by Mr. Damiano. Any more discussion? Any more questions? Hearing none, vote from my right.
Bond, yes.
Matthews, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Key, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Rademacher, yes.
Motion passes. We'll move forward with the $8,000 grant to assist you with your sign.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. They've got really good food, too.
If you want to leave, you can go ahead and leave too.
Item number 9, consider and take action on the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget for the Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corporation. Turn this over to Dr. Smith to make her presentation.
Good evening, Board. So I want to clarify that the EDC is in strong financial condition. And we did that on purpose the last couple of years. We took a break from doing loans and grants in order to get the best policies in place. And currently, Gun Barrel City has approximately $2.3 million in the bank, and now we are beginning to see some of these applications come in. Cheney Brothers had also submitted a small business grant. We kind of punted them back to a large business grant. They're doing some significant improvements to their building. So that how is the EDC's dollars best spent? So that will be coming back to the board. We have some other businesses on the plate coming in that may need some financial help, but we purposely for the last 2 years I set us up for success to ensure that when the time came to have a new director that was out recruiting, you were set up for success to be able to do that, to have the financial wherewithal to be able to do it. So the budget each year is created on the amount of revenue you have coming in versus what you have to spend that on, variable fixed expenses. And then you have those additional dollars for one-off if you have to do a special project. Somebody walks in tomorrow and needs $250,000 to come to Gun Barrel. They have a proven track record that they're going to boost our sales tax. They're going to bring this many employees. You're prepared for that. And so we have budgeted very conservatively. We're in a bit of a time of change, but we can't wait for a director because our budget expires October 1st, and this is part of the city's budget process as well, which is what you have to remember. We're not standalone. Council also has to approve this budget in line. We have notices we have to do. And so this budget is created around the predicted income for 2026 fiscal year, which is October 1 of 2025 to September the 31st of 2026. I don't love that we have to wait so long, but we had to get the city budget almost to the finish line before we could present you with a budget. This allows the EDC to use those other dollars for special incentive programs as they come up. There could be a minor change in this budget based on the new director starting. Once the salary of that person is negotiated and once they meet with you and council and set goals. So we, for the most part this year, Stephen and I crafted this budget around similar expenses to what we did last year. I fully expect during the first quarter, second quarter at some point, for y'all to do a budget amendment based on their recruiting, what they see coming up, what we've got going on, where we may need to better allocate that, but we can't wait until then to do a budget. So this budget is in line with the last 2 years' budget. But we need to approve this by resolution, and we typically do that at the same meeting as the city, and the city approves both budgets. As of June 30th, 2025, the GBC EDC has a net income of $438,140 for fiscal year 2025. That was covered in your financials earlier tonight. So what you see there at the bottom is just the highlights of expenses, revenue, and difference by budget for 22 actual, 23 actual, 24 actual, the 25 budget, and the 26 actual, or the 26 proposed budget. Go to the next screen, Stephen. This was included in your packet. I did not receive any questions from the board, but you can see there we kind of stayed in line this coming up year exactly where we were, knowing that in getting a new director, you may have to realign some of this in the future. And that people do, cities and EDCs do budget amendments as necessary going forward, but we're able to operate come October 1st regardless. This is also anytime you're looking at a new director this time of year or a new city manager, the first question is, where's the budget, right? Because that's the last thing they need to do is come in and try in 30 days to get this through the process. So we move forward with the budget like it was. The major difference was after talking to council and discussing as part of the recruitment brochure, kind of what the start pay of that position would be. It's treated like a department head at the city. It's on a scale of start somewhere around. Now, contract positions don't follow a scale perfectly, but that scale starts at about 82 and goes up to 100. Then we will negotiate that salary with that director from there. So we budgeted 85 just to be safe. And that may have to change based on council negotiations. Executive assistant, that is a step raise for your executive assistant, your office manager. He's got about 12 titles. Employee benefits, we did see a decrease in insurance this year, a small decrease in insurance. EDC does pay 100% of your employees' insurance costs. The city employees pay $25. The city picks up the rest. For the EDC, they have long picked up the entire cost of the office manager, admin assistant, executive assistant, and the director. Employee benefits, and then payroll taxes, again, estimates. Telephone and internet, rent, that has continued. You rent that space. For those of you that don't know, if you know this, I can stop, but for those of you that don't know that might be new to the board, the EDC rents that space from the city and pays monthly to the city for rent to that side of the building. Repairs and maintenance, electricity, security, and city contracts. That's zeroed out. In the past, the city used to mow some property for the EDC, and so those city contracts came out of there. Most of that property has now been sold and taken over by the developers, and they're responsible for maintaining it. So next slide, please. So that's fixed expenses, and you can see there the comparison of all those years. The final column on the far side is the FY26 proposed. You've got marketing, office expenses, dues and subscriptions, that's to EDC. Other miscellaneous, again, there may be some increases in this based on negotiations for an employment contract and training and attending different events. Professional services, your audit fee, your CPA fees, your bank fees, your legal fees, and MISC professional fees. In this case, that MISC professional fee is the remainder of the retail coaches contract that was approved earlier this year. And then professional development, staff training, board development, and then projects. So just to be clear, the EDC currently has 2 loans in fiscal year 2026, which runs from October 1st to September the 30th. There will be a $60,315 payment on the Big Chief loan and a $40,735 payment on the $500,000 loan that was part of the partnership. So one thing we're also working on the CPA is cleaning up our titles of things. They inherited it in 2016 and it just stayed that way. I've spent a lot of time getting the financials cleaned up. Now we have to start cleaning up the titles of things. That is not the $500,000 partnership that we closed out with Pier 334 with the land payment several meetings ago. That is the loan that was part of that partnership. So we have closed out that partnership agreement with Pier 334. This is us paying that off. And then vacant property maintenance, you can see there's nothing there. And then $100,000 to budgeted for large incentive programs. And then the remainder of the missing funds, $35,000 budgeted for small business incentive programs. As I mentioned, you do have money in the bank that could go to these programs as we get applications, but you want to start somewhere, right? You want to have some money budgeted in your budget allocated for that. Anything else outside of the 100 or the 35 would come both to the EDC board and to City Council for approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have some thoughts about our cash on hand and what have you. You're estimating that our income for this next year will be $739,944. And currently, I'm using the synopsis, the summary of June financial. Looks like we have about $2,285,585 cash on hand. So that gives us $3,025,529. So we're looking at having a $3 million cash flow, so to speak, income coming in. Of course, this is not, I'm getting to the expenses here.
Yeah, I would treat those as two different things. You budget what potentially will come in the next year.
Right.
What I'm saying is that the EDC has roughly today $2.3 million in
Right.
cash in the bank that is drawing significant interest.
Correct, correct. I agree with you there. So I was looking at the projects and programs because I noticed we have miscellaneous projects a zero in the budget, and I was wondering, was there a reason you didn't want to put money into that?
There wasn't. We didn't have any planned. It's something this board really needs to talk about. If going forward there are specific projects, you need to understand what the city's goals are and what the Parks Board is working on.
Right.
And then decide if you want to contribute some of that cash on hand to some of those projects.
Well,
If you did that in this case, you would have to transfer out of reserves. I will call that cash you have on hand reserves. That's how the city treats it. You would have to transfer money out of reserves to put it into this budget to then budget those things. And instead of complicating it, not knowing today what projects might be in the works, where we might need to invest money, and this EDC having just invested $500,000 in the community center, I just left that blank for now until y'all can have future conversations.
okay. So here's my next question. The budget calls for $438,844 in projects and programs. And currently, we have $325,000, which is fine. That was from the May financial, I think. Anyway, the difference there is about $113,799. Where do you think the difference will come from for the projects? Do you want to take it out of TechStar? Do you want to take it out
Whoa.
the sales tax?
Hang on. The financials don't necessarily have anything to do with next year's budget. So the financials for this year or for this year's budget, this is the budget for next year.
I
If-
understand, but we never made a correction on this last year's budget.
Correct.
So I'm just making sure that we are funding projects and programs to the max so that we have it available. If something does come to us, we don't have to start making adjustments in our budget.
And you have that in reserves. And so much like council, you could always take an action item, have an action item on your agenda to pay for, if we started going through this, and this year we have $150,000 in large business incentives and small business incentives. If between now and October 1st, you wanted to spend $200,000, that would come to the EDC as an agenda item to withdraw that money from your reserve account. And you would likely, if you could go back for me, Stephen, you have a number of accounts. If you want my professional advice, I would never tell you to take that out of one of your TechStar accounts because that account is drawing significant interest every month. I would tell you to dip into, you would probably have to go all the way back to the financial report. I would tell you to dip into something like your project account.
Well, we're trying to fund the project account, so I was just wondering, are we going to take that then out of our current revenue of sales tax revenue, or are we going to take it out throughout the year of the coming sales tax?
Are we going to take what out?
Well,
I
you've
don't
got
know
a
that I
diff-
understand the question.
Okay, let me start over because I don't want to muddy the water too much more. Projects for this coming year will be $438,000. We currently only have $325,000 to cover it, so we know we've got to make up that difference in this next year. I'm asking, are you going to take that funding out every quarter to put it into the projects to fund the difference?
I'll have to, if we're talking about this year's financials, Linda, I will have to look at that specifically. I don't know. Again, I'm trying to get the budget report from the CPA, and so I need to look at that specifically. So I'll have to look at that specifically offline and bring it back to the board.
Okay, well, I think I'm just going to put it out there for our board that I would like for us to, under miscellaneous projects, go ahead and put some money into our budget for the park. I'm just going to throw that out there. The other question I had was under marketing.
Sorry, go back.
Is retail coach under marketing?
Retail coach is under professional services.
Okay,
We just talked about that one. Miss
Yeah.
professional fees.
so I guess I'm just wondering, are we going to continue with the retail coach through next year? We signed a contract, right?
I cannot answer that. Yes, you signed a contract for 1 year for them. How you move forward from there will be up to the board sitting at the time and the director.
Okay. The only other thing I would add is that going back and looking at how much we had spent up through May, there's several of these line items in our budget that are high. I don't think we'll even come near using. So I'd like for us to take a look at that maybe after the meeting when you have some time.
Okay.
And see if there's some of that money we might pull out of those that are too high and put those into some areas we really need the money.
Okay? I'm happy to do that. I'm going to tell you, a budget is just that, a budget, right? And
Right.
so this year, I mean, obviously, we are underspending, right? We aren't spending all the money that's budgeted, as evidenced by we have a net income this year of, Stephen, $428,000. And that's okay. A budget is just the guiding document. If you don't spend that money, it goes back into your reserve pot at the end of the year, right? So this is a 1-year budget. Between October the 1st and September 30th, you spend that money, or it goes back into your reserve project. We have not been, outside of Retail Coach, they have currently recruited 2 that I know are coming to town. We have not had incentive requests. Those are going to come. I can assure you they are going to come. I know one is, they're still in the process of trying to figure it out. I know another that is putting in, it won't necessarily be a you spend $50,000, we reimburse you $25,000. They're going to come to this board and ask for incentives. You want that funding in reserve. So at the end of the year, September the 30th, anything that hasn't been spent out of a line item stays in your reserve, which is your bank accounts, right? You build your budget around, we're getting this much income, this is how much we're going to spend, unless you know of a special project that's coming up that you want to plug into there.
Well, my one last thought on this is that if we look at the current financial that you'll be getting for June, July, maybe even later, let's just look at those items that show where we only spent 0% and see if we can't pull those funds into even marketing, because I know we need more marketing.
I just don't know at this point if that's necessary to do a budget amendment with.
Well, we never did one throughout this
I
last
still don't.
year.
I still don't know that it's necessary with 75 days left in this year's budget. So if you all would like us to do some additional marketing and you have some ideas, at the end of the day, the goal is that you haven't spent more than you have taken in, right? We frequently at the city don't necessarily move money between line items. We account for if we spent $500 in supplies and we only budgeted $250, we need to make that other so that when we do budget next year, we budget better. So I don't know that I would recommend this board make a budget adjustment in August with only 60 days left in your fiscal year.
Well, I wouldn't expect us to either, but I would like to think that in 6 months, we definitely do, because we didn't do that this year. So I'm
Yeah.
just making that a.
Not uncommon. There was no real reason to reallocate those funds, knowing what we had coming up. Again, I believe sometime around the end of the first quarter, going into the second quarter, you will need to do a budget amendment. Very common when you have a new executive director. They will want to do that. I did that right when I came in because y'all approved a budget at my first meeting, and we needed to make significant changes and reallocations. And so this is something to get you started that matches pretty much what we did last year and budgets the revenue you have coming in with I want to be clear, a healthy reserve, right? That's how you treat that, as reserve funding. You can, if you know you have a special project coming up, you can, council does it. We take $40,000 out of our capital improvement fund, which is a reserve fund for the city, to pay for police cars. Today, you have potentially a new director coming in at a minimum in the next 90 days. And so you gotta be prepared to allow them to get their feet wet and see where money needs to be allocated So when Stephen and I did this budget, we tried to reallocate things similarly to we did last year.
So did the council come up with the amount we're going to pay the executive director?
The council will negotiate that rate, yes. That is not the rate. This had to be done before then.
So did they know how much money was going into our budget?
Do they know how much money is going into your budget? Yes, because you get a percentage of their sales tax. So yes,
No, I mean for an executive director.
they know what I budgeted in your budget for an executive director, yes.
And they were agreeable?
I'm not going to discuss
I
that
haven't
here.
seen it yet.
Well, I just know, well, I'm not going to go down that road.
Yeah,
Help me understand something, because I'm really thinking I need to jump up to try to catch what's flying around.
Don't know.
When we put together a budget, it's based on what we postulate is going to come in next year, and it's based on what we postulate we're going to spend next year.
Yes, sir.
Everything that's living in our accounts today is merely gravy to make up the difference.
It is gravy to do something above and beyond, yes, sir.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So we're saying that if we have a budget shortfall, it'll be because our taxable income fell on its face and we didn't have the sales tax income.
No.
Yes, sir.
Why not?
Well, if we have a budget shortfall, first, let me try and explain something. Is if you take the large business at 100,000, that's, in my estimation, is significantly underfunded. It probably should be 300 if we're going to be doing anything at all next year. The small business should be, I wondered how that amount got to where it was, and I figured, okay, it balanced. It did the backwards math, and it balanced out and made the whole budget balance, so that's what it wound
Yeah,
up with.
and that is how you budget in an EDC, and if you have a special
Angie,
request
this
come
is a
in.
city budget.
you
This
can
is not an
then-
EDC budget.
And the same for the city budget. So this year, we
Not the
had some
same.
special projects, and we went to council and said, hey, we want to do
know,
this
but we're going-
project. We're going to need, let me finish,
We're
we're
going
going to
into it
need.
underfunded on the large business and the small business, just out of the chutes. And then, and I'm trying to save time. If we don't increase that, then we have to go back to city council and get an amended budget. And we have to go through us to get an amended budget.
So I want to be clear, if you had someone come in and request $250,000.
Yep.
Even if it was in your budget, city council still has to approve that.
That's what I
Doesn't
just
matter,
said.
Right? So at that point, you would choose to take that $250,000 out of your reserves, not out of your budget. You would put money in there not knowing,
understand that.
okay, let's just use this year, right?
I understand
For
that.
everybody's edification. If we
All
had
I'm
done
trying to
that
do,
this
Angie,
year,
is make sure
we had put
straighter the way it should be on the front
$250,000
end.
in the large business plan this year. It would still be sitting there,
Yeah.
and it would be extra paperwork that's not necessary because you have the reserves there if you need to go above and beyond what you budget.
And we'd roll it over into this year's budget or put it back in reserve. Either way. I'm just trying to shortcut the whole thing and prevent a budget amendment going to city council when we're underfunded to begin with. That's all.
But you're not today because you don't know what you're going to get.
I'm sorry?
You're not underfunded today. You don't know what you're going to get in the future.
You just alluded to some stuff that's coming down the pike that we're probably going to need money for.
But we don't know. We don't know how much. I thought we would have that conversation, Lisa, in June? We expected that application to come in. It still hasn't come in.
Yeah, I know it.
So we don't know. I mean, Linda, Roy, y'all were a part of that conversation. We had that conversation that it potentially could come in June.
Okay.
It still hasn't. But a one-off project like that where it is significant, you're going to want to dip into your reserves to do that. And 99% of accrual-based accounting doesn't budget reserves. You dip into that when you need to. You budget what your income is, and then you move forward from there. And you
If
take any
we have
budget
somebody
amendment
come
that you
in
need to do.
and we want to do 200,000,
Yep.
okay, we're not going to look and say, oh, we can't do it, we've only got 100,000. We're going to go over
Not-
here to our sales tax revenue
Yep.
and say, we are going to transfer 200,000
Yes, sir.
from our sales tax revenue because we want this
Yes,
business.
sir. That is how simple it is.
And that just takes a vote of the board.
a motion
to
from the
say that
board
we
and
want
approval.
City
to
council,
transfer.
and city council, they have to approve it.
Well, yeah, but we.
You're gonna have to approve it
will.
anyway.
Amending our budget.
And just for a little historical on the Techstar, that fund was created and was set up as an enticement for a large big box type business as an incentive.
Okay.
That's why there's a couple of council people that hold that very near and dear as to not, because a while back, two boards ago, they wanted to basically wipe it out,
Wipe what out?
the TechStart. They wanted to start taking a bunch from it. But this has been set because it does draw so much interest as an incentive to entice a large business to come. That's why at TechStar, you'll see historically we don't take anything from it.
I'm not, nobody's arguing that, Keith.
Well, no,
I guess what's the question? I mean, exactly what Roy said, right? You're doing a budget, you are planning for the expenses that you predict will happen in the next year. We've done that. We've allocated some funding to the large business. We've allocated some funding to the small business. If a large project over 100,000 came in, you would then act on it to withdraw that from reserves, just like we didn't plan on selling property, right? So we sold the property, decided that we would sell the property for that amount. It's not necessary to do a budget amendment. That's an additional $130,000 in revenue. It's shown on our monthly reports every month. Just goes into the reserve account at the end of the year.
Okay,
Anything left over at the end of the year becomes reserves.
Angie, one point I want to ask you about is that if a developer goes online to look at our budget, they're not going to see a budget that includes our reserve.
They don't,
And so
I
they're
will
going to
tell
think this
you-
is a weeny little low EDC that doesn't want to give incentives.
They're going to see financials, they're going to look at meetings, they're going to see financials, they're going to see what your reserves are. No developer, I would be hard pressed to find a developer across the country that opens our budget and says, oh, they only have $100,000, I'm out.
But your
We've
public,
only had
your public-facing
$100,000
information
for
is
2
sending the
years,
wrong information.
And we have continually had conversations with developers I've had one that wants $1 million. Well, I know what the answer to that is, right? That's easy for me. Let's find a better balance. And so we begin to have those conversations, and that's what your economic development director does. Then you have the power of your reserves if a one-off special project comes forward that needs a larger incentive.
With the changes that are coming into effect, I really don't see the benefit of putting a budget based on last year's, when we haven't done much, up against next year's, when we hope to do a hell of a lot more than we've done.
Which is why I
It
said
makes
you need a
more
budget
sense
to get
to
you
have
started. And then
reasonable
you need
figures in the small
to be
business and the
prepared to make an amendment toward the end of the first quarter when your director really has his feet wet and can move forward. And that was my recommendation to council as well on this budget, how this team should move forward. Is approve a budget based on last year's with reallocating some things. We needed to reallocate Placer. For some reason, it was in there at 3,000 last year. We needed to tighten up a few things, and so that was done. And then know that there is the potential to have to come back and amend this sometime within the first quarter, but we need a budget to move forward, so. And we need a budget that is budgeted to the amount of dollars you expect to receive this year.
I'm going to move us on here, guys.
Thank you.
The
Is this the-
question is to consider and take action on the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget for the Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corporation. We've discussed it, we've talked about it, and I'm looking for a motion as to what action we shall take.
I make a motion that we take action on the 2026 proposed budget for the Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corporation.
As it stands,
As it,
written.
yes,
Approve as it stands, is that what you're saying?
yes.
Bond second.
Okay, would you please restate your motion clearly?
I make a motion that we approve the proposed 2026 budget for the Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corporation as it stands.
And Bond still seconds.
And we have a second from Mr. Bond. We have a motion and a second. We've had plenty of discussion. We'll move forward to a vote. From my left, please.
Rademacher, yes.
Alexander, yes?
I'm going to have to go with a no.
Key, yes?
Damiano, no.
Matthews, yes.
Bond, yes.
Motion carries, and we have we approve the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget as it stands today. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've already discussed everything on item 10, probably ad nauseum. Anybody have anything they want to add to any of these, A, B, C, or D? And if they don't, we're going to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.